Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Odera Annie. For this video, we're going to be doing small goddess knotless braids. And I'm going to show you guys how I pre-part my sections to get perfect parts. Okay guys, the first thing you're going to do is make a line on your client's head from ear to ear. This is a very important line and you'll use it to make all other parts on the head. So make sure that it's straight and clean. After this, you're going to make 3 sections below that line. And this is for small knotless braids. If we're doing medium, we would make 2 sections, but because we're doing small, we make 3 sections. And when you pre-part, you're able to see like how your lines look. Like right here, I probably would have made that line a little bit cleaner. And if I want to going forward, I can clean up that line before I start braiding vertically. But you're able to see your parts beforehand and see if you want to make any adjustments if you want to. So for small knotless braids, you have 3 parts below that line from ear to ear. After making those parts below the ear to ear line, you're going to make a part straight down the middle of your client's head. Also make sure that you go to the front, that's what I did at the beginning, to make sure that it's aligned with your client's nose, to make sure the line is straight. And this is my line. You can actually see me going in and making it even more straight. Like, align the part with the base, middle base of the neck, and then from the front, align it with your client's nose. Okay, so now we get into the parting on the front of the head. First, I'm going to part out the edges, and then I'm going to get into pre-parting the sections. Because we are doing small knotless braids, that means there needs to be 6 sections in the front. So I first part it in half, and then part those 2 sections into 3s, as you see me doing here. It just makes it a lot easier to make sure that the parts are a lot more even by parting the sections in 2 and then going ahead and parting those 2 sections into 3s. And these are how the parts look. Again, I can now see the parts beforehand before I start braiding. So if I want to make them any more crisp, I can. This just allows me to make adjustments throughout. It also allows me not to have to worry about making the parts so neat. So now that everything is pre-parted, I can just go ahead and start braiding, and there's no need for me to stress about, is it even, do I need to part this section more, this, that, and the third. So now that I have pre-parted my sections, I'm gonna go in and start braiding. Also, don't mind my bonnet. I don't usually wear my bonnet around clients. This is my best friend and she lives here, so I didn't really care. But now that the pre-parting is out of the way, all I have to worry about is the brick method and making sure that the braids align in between other braids so that it can come out full. Make sure that you don't directly align your braids on top of each other. These are the first 3 rows, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more rows before I slow it down and show you guys exactly how I am doing the small knotless braids. I also want to point out just how easy it is for me to now continue to part out the rest of the sections. I just want you guys to look at how clean the parts look now that I took the time at the beginning to make sure that the parts were so even, so I don't have to do that later on. Okay, so here are how the braids look now. They look real full, real good. Parts look really neat. And in the next few clips, I'm going to show you just how I do it. Okay, so here is me slowing it down. So right here, this section right here is actually 3 braids. I'm going to separate it into 3 braids. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that her hair is smoothed down. She does have some kinky 4C hair. So I just want to make sure that the braids come out as neat as possible. So I'm putting gel underneath it and above it, and then I'm just smoothing it out before I start making my sections and my parts. After I've smoothed it out, and you can see it's real slick, I just like it to be smooth so it looks more neat. I'm gonna part out 2 sections. This is the first section, and then I'm gonna part out 1 more. When I make my sections, usually I pre-section them all at once, and I twist them up and keep them out of the way. When you do things all at the same time, you go faster instead of doing it and then braiding it and then parting and then braiding. I just pre-part all at once, then I braid all at once so that I move a lot faster. So I'm twisting up this section, I'm going to twist up the last section, and then I'm going to show you guys how I do my knotless braids. For this first section, I am going to move the hair out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. I use a clip while I'm braiding. I always have a clip on hand just to move the hair out of the way. I'm going to comb out the section to make sure that there's no knots, and also be careful when you're combing your client's hair, especially if they have a 4C type texture. It's more likely to get knotted, so just be careful with it so you don't cause any more breakage. Then after you do that, you divide it into 3, and then you start braiding. I do 2 braids. Here's the first one, and then here's the second one. And then after that, I start adding hair in between my pointer finger and my middle finger. You'll see me pointing to it here. I add hair, and then I do another braid. I stop, again I add hair in between my pointer and my middle finger. I add hair again, and I do this 1 more time, so 3 times in total for each leg of the braid. This is the 3rd time, and then I add hair. After that point, the braid is secure, and I can now just braid down per usual. Sorry that my big head is in the way, but I also have other braiding videos that are probably like you can see the braid better, so go check out my other videos. After that, you're no longer braiding to secure your braid. You're now braiding to for thickness of the braid, and you add hair as you go down. Because these are small knotless, I am still adding like a good bit of hair. I think I added like 2, 3, 4 pieces, about 4 pieces going down. But that's the usual amount. I just make the size of the hair that I'm adding a lot smaller, so I have a lot more control of the size of the braid. So if you're more so worried about sizing, make sure that the pieces that you're using are smaller so you can control the size of the braid. And this is me going into the next one. So all I'm doing is dividing it into 3. And then with these 3 strands, I'm going to go ahead and make 2 braids before I start adding hair. And then I'm going to add 3 pieces like I did before, and I'm going to braid down. I'm going to let you guys just watch me do that. My head is also in the way again. So I can also just do a video dedicated to knotless braids if you guys would like that. So to forget about parting and just work on how to do knotless braids. So if you guys need me to go ahead and do that, you just let me know. But again, I'm adding the hair into the braid in between my pointer finger and my middle finger, and then I'm going to continue to braid down. I do it 3 times, and then after that, I'm no longer focused on the security of the braid. I'm more focused on the thickness and making sure that the size looks as good as similar sisters, not twins, to the other braids. And here I am just finishing off the last few rows. By this point, I am most definitely tired. I've been setting up for so long. Doing small knotless braids does take strength and does take some type of mental preparation. It is not for the weak. I think I was up for a good 6 to 7 hours. I do like doing small knotless. I think that adding the goddess braids at the end also Also added time. I know I didn't show you guys how to add curls. I've done that in a couple of my other videos. If you guys would like me to show you how I add curls, just let me know. This video was more so for parting and show y'all how I part for small knotless braids. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see or what I can do different in my next video. And I will see you in another video. Bye, y'all.